almost being at 814, I think it is, Michael's house. I know, because I've been sided with Oris, I was close with Oris, I really liked him, and I respect what he's trying to do for all of these people, and I don't want them to be homeless, but surely there's got to be a better way. I know the spaces are very small spaces, bedrooms. I know that there are people constantly picking up and or dropping off, so there's always traffic. There's people parking in the alleyway waiting for other people to come in or out of the house, dropping them off from work or whatever they may be doing. And I don't really like the idea of me having children that there's no like organization to it. It's not a homeless shelter or a men's recovery shelter. It is, I feel like, whoever can pay the $125 cash, $250 deposit, right then and there, that's who gets to stay, whether good or bad. We've also had an officer warn us that there was a registered offender there and recommended that I not have my children outside in my front lawn because of that. So that's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leah King, K-A-N-E, and I'm the current homeowner at 823 East North Street, and currently selling my house. I'm also a licensed real estate agent, so I'm representing myself in the sale of the home. And I have not yet sold the home. The buyer's real estate agent is actually here today too. We're probably about 2 weeks or so out from closing on the home, but I guess just from today what I've learned, my biggest concern is this home has been zoned inappropriately for 7 years with a number of people living in the home at one time since 2017. So my question is, what events have led and why has this been brought to light recently? Why is there a variance request now?
And Sarah may have a better answer for this, but I'll give you the 100,000 foot answer, which is, one, it takes, the city time to check into various things. I do believe that there are complaints that gave rise to an inspection of what this current situation was related to the zoning of the property. Some of the things that were done previously were done with permission and request in terms of what was being placed in there, but I don't know that it was all ever specifically identified as to what exactly the nature of the residence was and the nature of the facility or what was really happening there. So this was brought to the city's attention. The city has done its investigation and has advised us to the necessity for a variance if it's going to continue. And then if the variance is not granted, I suspect that there will be relatively swift action to ensure that it is brought into compliance with the codes of ordinance for the city, and whether that be, there's several penalties and sanctions that are available to the city in terms of a violation of one of our zoning ordinances, including potentially seeking injunctive relief from the court, fines, daily fines. There's several different things that are available to the city, and I suspect that if for some reason the variance is not granted, those will be pursued in earnest, because Mr. Reece has, once it was brought to his attention, he sought this variance, and that's what this hearing was for.
Do you want me to speak now or wait?
I'll let you wait.
Okay. I just thought maybe I could
Does that
answer
answer your question?
some other
It
people's
does.
questions.
I guess also, what is the occupancy limit for it?
Well, I would say it is currently zoned in a residential area, and it is identified as a residential home,
Okay.
which would mean it would be a normal residential home occupancy.
Okay. I just wanted to come with concern as a homeowner looking to sell my home, not being at the closing yet, just because the determination could affect the sale of the home. So
Okay.
the other agent might have other questions. Thank you.
and I suppose I didn't mean to cut you guys off. If you want to hear from Sarah now, I mean, this is your hearing. I'm just trying to make sure that the evidence is clear. The record is clear as to what we're. Go ahead.
Dave,
My name is Jenny Colson. I represent the buyer. She couldn't be here tonight because she was working. So she wanted me to bring some questions to the table that I think has kind of already been brought. How many people are coming and going? Screening, you know, she's gonna potentially have some grandkids there. So are there any sex offenders that are there that she needs to worry about? You're also around, you know, the library, schools, she was kind of concerned that, you know, is there any screening as far as who is living there? Her question was there a program for this recovery, which we obviously know that there's not. Has there ever been any problems at this location, which I did go to the police station and had them run all the reports for me, so I know that the police has been called there, which I have all of them in hand, which you guys probably have access to as well. So her buying this home, she's taken all of this into consideration as we were not, we didn't have this information prior to going and looking at it, so. That's all.
thank you.
Thanks.
I was up here before.
Dave Moore, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I own the property, 820 East Washington Street. That's across the alley from this abortion we're talking about. It's a long way from being a recovery home. It's a boarding house with sleeping rooms. They've advertised, the last advertisement was last month, that Reece advertised on it. And the gal said that they were $125 a week, $250 deposit, and then he come back and said ample street parking, which that's a crock of bull. My renter moved out. She's been there 20 years. She says, I've had enough. She said, and I gotta get out of there before it starts getting warm, because the smell of marijuana is great. And she wasn't lying, because I've smelled traces of it, and I had a guy, after she moved out, putting a furnace in for me, and he says, what are they making over there across the alley? I said, what are you talking about? He says, well, they must be making something. I said, no. I said, that's a boarding house. He's renting sleeping rooms. I said, he's probably got somewhere between 12 and 15 rooms. Because when Daddy died, he went in that house and put all sleeping rooms in. So that part of it just simply ain't true about what's going on. Now, she told me, she said the other thing is how it is, all that traffic in the alley, foot traffic and alley and people going up and down it in cars, and then they got these floodlights on the side of the house that was shining in the house. She had to go get those real darkened curtains and put up. That did help, but still, with them floodlights in there, took care of that. Now, on that, she's told me that she was taking the trash down the street and she was coming back up the sidewalk. And this guy walks out of the house on the alley entrance, that's their main entrance, and walks out to the alley, he had on a pair of bib overalls, reaches down his pants and pulls this bag out. It was a urine bag, and he dumped it right out there in the alley in front of him. Now, that's what set her off. Started. So then, one of the neighbors, I was telling him about that. He says, well, I can believe that. He says, you ain't gonna believe what happened to me. He says, I was standing out in the front yard. And he said, I just happened to look over there, and this guy comes out of the front door, walks down the ramp, down to the street, stands there a little bit, pauses, looks around, turns around and goes back to the house. But he said the thing was, he was naked as a blue jay. Now, this lady was talking about kids. This is a residential area. Now, parking, after that, this guy was telling me that was putting the furnace in, I went out and I counted the cars. The ones in front of my house, in front of their house, up through the alley, around behind them. There was 14 vehicles in a residential area. Now guys, I'm not going to sit here and hammer all night. I'm going to tell you, the reason why we're here tonight, because that lady right there caught Reece with his fingers in the cookie jar, and she slammed the lid on it. That's exactly what happened. That's the reason why we're here tonight. If you guys want to know what's going on, let that lady right there take you down there and show you around, because she knows everything, just like me, what's going on down there. You guys, before you even make a decision, you need to go down there and look around and see what the hell's going on. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to have somebody go inspect that house. But, and then, I gotta,
I said, Mr. Moore, I'm not gonna cut you off, I'm just letting you know that you're at 5 minutes. So I'm just, you say what you need to say, I'm just telling you that's where you're at.
I heard this from a reliable source, and he got it from a reliable source. The reliable source I got it from, he's on the board here in City Hall. So he's a pretty guy that, knows what the hell's going on. He says Reece has been telling certain individuals that sleeping rooms are the way to go. Run into trouble, get a lawyer, and there's nothing the city council can do. So, hash that over, boys.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
So funny.
Thank you.
I'm next. Okay. I have, can I show you this?
I just need your name, man.
Okay, Sandy Moore on his other half.
Okay.
Make it funny.
Okay, this is Facebook. Okay, well, this is our rental. Our renter hasn't been able to park in front of her house for 2 years because there's always a car parked there. So, this is what he put on Facebook. This right here,
I need you to show them, I don't need to make a decision.
this is Facebook. He
He's just a mere
advertises on
attorney.
Facebook. $125, there's no, mail, there's just, and this is the room. See the room? And see the bathroom? See the room?
I think that's in our package.
It's in the package.
We've seen a copy of it.
Is that her? Is that you that did it?
Yeah, Sarah.
Yes.
Sarah.
I love you. Well, I'm gonna make my round. So, okay, yeah, that's it. This is Facebook, this is twice that he's advertised on Facebook at $125. The other morning I went past and there was 9 cars. There's 4 in front of his, of course, 1 in front of our rental. Up the alley, there's 2. If you turn the corner, there's a truck parked behind the lean-to. Then if you turn left, there's another car parked there. So, this is the room. See the room? It's But that was only 9 cars that morning. So if you take that he has 9 people in there, and he's charging $125, that's $1,000 and something, guys, in 1 week. And if he charges $250 as deposit, that's over $2,000. So our rental, she said that there was a guy that was moving in, and she went out and talked to him. And he told her it was $125 in cash. There you are.
Thank you, ma'am. So, are you coming up for moral support, or you also planning to talk?
Not for good her.
Okay, so you, okay, cool.
Say
What are your names?
Yeah, it's both.
Okay.
Tom and Carol Schwindeman, and I think you have the letters, I think, that we have written, voicing a lot of our concerns. I just want to really keep this pretty short. We've lived at our residence for 45 years,
What's your address, Carol?
823 East Washington.
Okay.
So just not quite directly across, it's kind of diagonal from Mr. Reese's home. And I think the only person that's lived there longer is Mr. Dutcher, because his family, his mother and dad were there. So we've seen a lot of comings and goings and different things happening. Everything that you've heard about, I mean, that sounds well and good. And we definitely are not against people, you know, helping each other out and all those kinds of things. But there's also a lot that you see when you live there. And a lot of what we've seen are things that make us very uncomfortable. Not necessarily anybody that's spoken here tonight, it's just things that have happened over time. And, you know, we raised our 3 children there, and now we don't feel very comfortable being out on the porch with our grandchildren. There's been different little confrontations over time with people on that porch, the language, all of what goes on. It's just a lot. It's just so much to take in. And we try, you know, to do the best we can. But this is the first time we've ever come and spoken out against anything. It's not really, we're not too confrontational. It's not really in our nature to do that. But, you know, we feel that right is right and wrong is wrong. And we feel that this has been going on a while. And as I said in the letter, when Mr. Reece was, Horace, when he was there, he had once mentioned something to Tom. I think you know what he said.
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
And we felt,
And-
he'd done a lot for the community.
Yeah.
And he really did. And so we thought, well, you know, we figured whatever it was above board, it was all okay, and we weren't gonna be the ones to be complaining. But then, things kept happening, and you can say what you called about.
He
different
actually
things.
told me one time when he came over there, if you ever have trouble over there, come to him, don't go to the police first.
So-
Those were his exact.
So, I guess I'm hearing all these things, but what I haven't heard and what I see is a very, very much a lack of respect for people that are still trying to have their homes there in that residential area. And no one ever came and talked to us, other than that time, about what was going on, what wasn't, you know, but what is going on is not, there's more to the whole story than what is being told here this evening. So that's really,
I think it decreases the value of our homes around there myself. I think we would have a hard time selling my house. People knew what was going on over there,
or don't know.
or don't know.
But the biggest problem for us right now are the grandchildren and what they can see and what they hear and the things that happen in Skinner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Can
much.
you spell your last name real quick?
SCHWENDENMANN.
Thank you.
And I did have a misspelling in that letter, Mr. Reese's name, so.
East North Street, and my sister still lives there. And, she brought it to our attention about this. And the more, I'm just real confused on a lot of this because, it was listed as being a recovery center, and not being familiar with that, I looked it up and kind of researched what that is. And, I personally love the fact that people are getting help and stuff like that. But one of the things that I did find was that for being sorry, that a recovery center that is good, whatever, that shows a lot of progress and making sure that nobody, gets shamed or whatever, the cost of money. And also the fact that neighborhoods and everybody, being successful with that, has to be a setup, has to be organized, has to have, expectations, the ones that have, from my research, that there has to be follow through on it. And where some things are kind of, yes, we do check, yes, we don't, the ones that have, been successful have had that, expectations and also the support for the clientele there. But, the ones that haven't, issued, same thing of our concerns and my concerns, and that is property value, that's one thing. Safety concerns, which, I am a little more alarmed by hearing some of the things that are, safety concerns. And maybe being younger, guys and, living together and, don't always realize how it affects other people. But how, there's monitored, support provided. I've had some of these questions answered. Here's some of the information, like who the residents, what would be there. My question is, would other people be attracted to the area that, like selling the houses and things, would they want to bring their families in that area? And also, I want to make sure that if there were some safety reasons, because not knowing what we were talking, what we're talking about, I was thinking, well, wait a minute, is it something that some people are trying to recover? Because that's where I got hung up on recovery center. Because I don't understand if it was a rental thing, that's one thing, and ordinances and whatever, but being classified as a recovery center, to me, that's something totally different. And I wonder, well, what would happen if they were trying to get over drugs? You don't want drug dealers around, that type of thing. If they're in, because I didn't know if it was male or female or whatever it was, if they were in abusive situations with the people that were coming, might approach them there. Also, somebody said, if there were pedophiles, I want to make sure my children, grandchildren, everybody is okay. But is there a curfew? Will there be monitoring? It sounds like, the one first guy that came up and he said he's there if anybody needed it, whatever. But if you were going to have a recovery center, you need to have something established. You need to have monitoring. You need to have, provide the support that they need. My thing is on the zoning, it's your job to decide, what it is. And I want to know, are you going to, make these decisions? Who's going to be responsible if the property values go down? Who's going to accept the responsibility if our neighbors do not feel safe? And it sounds to me like they're already not feeling too safe. Who would be held accountable, and what will happen if there are negative, restore, effects to our neighborhood, neighbors, property values, and safety. Where does the responsibility lie? Our neighborhood is older. Our house was built by my grandparents back in 1914.
Ms. Boyd, I apologize for interrupting you, I just wanted to show you roughly.
Okay, and all I'm going to finish up there is we hope you'll consider our concerns and basically not grant the zoning request. Maybe help them. Long run.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Barb Boyd, B-O-Y-D, sister. And, I live at the residence, and like my sister said, this house has been in our family for 110 years. We've never left it. I live there by myself, take care of the property by myself. And I'm very confused after hearing that there's been 7 people living in that place. When it was first built, I was told it was 3 apartments, one of which had a garage. And I thought, that's fine, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I did notice a very upswing of traffic in the alley. My garage, the only access to it is off the alley. And there's people, you know, like I said, the parking back there, I don't know how anybody takes the curve or, you know, sometimes you can't get through. There's always somebody going up and down. And one thing is that as the owner, we're responsible for the upkeep of the alley, you know, putting in the new gravel when needed. And half my gravel ends up halfway down the alley. I'm sorry, you know, I don't have money to be doing all this. And I've never been afraid to live in that house. I'm starting to get very concerned, very. I have to walk quite a ways back to the garage to get to my car to go anywhere. That's a concern. I used to spend hours out there doing crafts, whatever. I don't go out in the garage anymore, especially after dark. The noise level is bad. You know, nothing has happened to me yet. And I emphasize yet. I just, you know, I think that the neighborhood is such an old established place. Even with the school traffic and the factory traffic, it still is you know, it's always been a quiet neighborhood. Give or take it 1 or 2 people, you know. But it's getting worse. And the last I heard, there was like at least 11 sleeping groups. That's very much news to me. And I am very against this. Thanks.
Thank you.
I know I've already said something, and I just want to say one more quick thing. There is 24/7, all around the property, surveillance cameras. I personally put them up, and I personally recharge them, replace them, anytime you ask. And another thing, the light situation, that does sound like a problem. I wouldn't want lights going to my house. Or someone going into the front door with their whatever out. But there's 24/7 security. And we never heard about it. And like I said before, if there's ever a problem, they could have always came to us. I will enforce anything if I feel like it's not right. If I feel like if there's something wrong, something cooking there, I go to him about it first. I've done it many times. Yeah, this room smells funky. Yeah, they just sprayed cologne after I just walked by. And guess what? A little bit later, they're not there a little longer because we're strict over there. Granted, never heard about this pedophile, don't know who this is, nor do I care. All I care about is if you're a straight normal person right now, that's all that matters to me, and what the impact can be after. I just feel like if these were problems, and I was a neighbor, I'd be knocking on that front door and asking some questions. But the entire 4 or 5 years I've been over there, I haven't had one question from a neighbor. But that's all I want to say. Thank you.
And I would just state for the record, that was Preston Merritt.
Yeah, Preston there, 2 R's, 2 T's.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Sorry, I was also up there.
Okay.
This is like our current address. So the registration has to come up to show you, seriously, but his name, that he does currently reside there. This is the same guy that the police told us about, who has also talked to my children, which is another reason why we don't go out front.
For the record, this is Mrs. Jones, right?
Yes.
Jones.
Yes, and I don't know, like currently, obviously I haven't talked to Oris in a long time. But I did talk to him before he passed, right after he had had his surgery, and he had personally told me that there was 10 people living in the additional house connected, and that there was also a child and the father living in the garage of the house, so that's also not okay. Me being a mom, it's 90+ degrees outside. No child should be living in a garage, whether there's a small AC unit or not. It's very hot. So that's my last thing.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
I'm gonna say there's not a sex offender. Hello.
Hello.
My name is Kaylin Doles, D-O-L-E-S,
Thanks for your person.
K-A-L-Y-N-N. Skip the first line. Everyone puts some 2 Y's in it.
Doles, you said?
I live directly across at 809 East Washington, so I have seen, since I've lived there, Forrest build this place. From what he told me to what it is now is controversial, because he told me he was building this house to house, people that lived out of town for Honda. And then if they, say if the weather was bad, that he would house them, and then they would go back home whenever. I know some of them have been residents for a while, and I've never really had any issues myself. I mean, I've heard some loud music or whatever. The traffic, they do have a lot of traffic, like right now, there's been about 5 cars parked in front for probably, I don't know, the last month or so, but there is a lot in back. I have a question that Tebby said 7 individuals will live there, but if they're having more than that in living quarters, like that new house has people living in it, his house has people living in it, and then what, like Emily said, we've heard people in a garage. So what is the stipulations to where they're actually living? I have, my daughter is a teenager. I do not feel safe for her being out there because I don't know who's gonna be outside. Same questions that everybody else has had is property taxes, what if I sell in the future? How's it gonna affect it if it actually becomes a center, a recovery center? I did a little bit of research, like somebody else said that there's supposed to be regulations and evaluations for a place like this. And, I know that it said that if there was a habit that Michael would have to give us contact information for the whole, whoever it should be there for us. I don't think I have anything else, obviously, a lot of us showed up because we're very passionate about this. We like that he wants to help people, but we don't like that he wants to call it a recovery center. Because we want to keep our neighborhood safe. Like when I moved in this neighborhood, I liked that it was an older neighborhood and that there wasn't
traffic going on. Thank you.
Good.
I'm Brandon Reece. Sorry, yeah, RAIEGHLYNN, last name Metz, M-E-T-Z. But I'm 14, I'm freshly going into high school as a freshman, and during middle school, I had walked to school sometimes, but anymore, I really don't feel like once she would let me, or two, I would be safe enough to walk across the street because I do not know who is in that house. I have seen, like everybody else has said, the traffic there and stuff like that. But I don't necessarily even like being in the front of my house because I don't know who's outside. And regardless, I don't care if people are like sitting outside, but when there is that traffic and I don't know who's there, and especially with the sex offender thing, I am not comfortable with that being outside. So, that was just my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating civically. Anyone else?
And Lawrence Dutcher. Okay, well, I've been there in the neighborhood over 46 years. And everything it's been real calm and everything nice and everybody helps each other and everything. Well, there's several times, I know one time, I heard something outdoors. So I go out and look at my back porch. And my porch is here, of course, I got a fenced-in yard, I got all the locks on the gates and stuff like that. And I was standing there. Well, when, before that house was down, a friend was parking his trucks in that yard. Because his dad said, yes, he could do it. Okay, well, I'd say it was about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, by that time. And I walked out there and I stand out there. But they didn't have their lights on over there at that house. So I stand there. Well, all of a sudden, I see a young person running around right next door at that house there, between that brick house and over there, around there. So I just stand there and look, because I didn't see who it was, but I knew it was somebody. It was young. And he heard me on the porch. And he had turned around, and he ran up toward the alley behind the garage of the gentleman with the alley, with the brick house and the garage. And then he came back down the alley and he went in to the house by the house where on the house in there. So I didn't see who it was or anything else. So, and stuff like that. And two, we've got a neighbor that lives on the corner, and they have, their daughter comes over and with her 5 children and stuff like that too, and that means I get concerned of her children out in that area. I'm concerned about that too, you know what I mean? I've not got no children, but me and my wife just loves kids and want the best for them kids.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I'm Ms. Robbins. I would just like to get some clarification. There are
two homes, that Mr. Reece, I believe, has, and they're connected, with like a walkway type structure. I want to understand which home is actually being questioned.
Both.
Both of them? Okay. I just wanted to clear that up because I'm assuming there's living spaces in both homes. Okay, thank you.
Good. Anyone else?
Seats.
B-R-Y-N-T-S.
You got nosy kid.
M-E-R-R-I-T-T. She's a 19-year-old kid, man. That's all I am. Anyways, if there's one thing I hate more than anything is throwing a label on people. Things, anything. No matter what it is. And it happens all the time. No matter where you go in the United States, Japan, Ukraine, no matter where you are. Label, 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 label. How many times do you want to talk to you? How many times have I talked to you about your glasses on your head? I don't like that. I'm gonna talk to you about it. Communication, number one. Relationships, business, living, being a human being. Communication. Correct? Is that pretty important thing? Okay. This isn't a country club by any means. This location is not a country club by any means. I think we can all agree on that. And we can also agree on how many hands are being raised of, yeah, I went up to Michael Reece and I talked to him about that parking right out there. I talked to him before about that, see if you get that resolved. I know that quite often I've never yet to hear anyone coming over about a question. Maybe wrong. I ain't there 24/7 like he is. He can quote that back. Don't know.
So, Mr. Mayor, you do not like the residents?
I do not. It all comes down to, is there a problem? All right. Put money on it. If there's probably definitely a problem. Go to the country club, there's a problem. Go to New York City, there's a problem. Go anywhere in the world, there's a problem. And that's just facts. Deny as much as you want, just facts. Problems everywhere. Part of being a human being. Communicate. From what I've heard of every older person, that's what the United States used to be about, communication, fixing your problems right then and there. Fix the issue, one conversation, done. That's not the case here, but you can speak to any of the guys over here that live there, or that used to live there. Every one of them used to be homeless. Every one of them. Makes $60K a year. Makes $40K a year now. I mean, these guys have leveled up, man. Happy with themselves. And a human being that can actually look themselves in the mirror and say, I'm proud of who I am now. You care about that? Probably not. Probably not. Just food for thought, morals. Man, morals are a big thing. Been lost. Big time. And that's why every older guy that I've talked to, every older lady, morals have been lost, ladies and gentlemen. Communication obviously has been lost. That's facts too. Deny it all you want, it's facts. Been lost, big time. Why do you think the United States is the way it is? Way broader than this little tiny situation going on, but it's true. Communication, and it just comes down to morals, man. These guys right here, be on the streets, living their dope life, shooting it up, having times of their lives, going under I-74 overpass, going to jail, going to prison, gotta live that lifestyle. Not really. I would rather see people sitting at home. Maybe you don't. I don't see why you would. Maybe it just comes down to morals. But I'd rather see
I
somebody.
apologize for interrupting you,
Sir.
sir. 5 minutes.
Yep. I'd rather see somebody in a home Zane, for instance, don't know the guy very well, talked to him maybe twice in my life. I know he's came up a lot more in life from what he was. To be able to see his daughter now, at a house where he can have his daughter. Obviously, these people aren't country club people, man. These people, let's be truthful, they came from the dirt. They're kind of trash, but
Thank you, sir.
they build themselves up.
Thank
Who they are now. Thanks.
you. Anyone else? Yes.
Can I come up again?
Do you have something different to say?
Well, no, you can cover
Okay,
that.
come on up.
That's a residential area over there. People are scared. They've got kids running around. Horace Reece moved in there and started that. He started with 1 or 2 people living in there. What happened was, one of them got pissed off and set fire to the garage out there. I don't know whether he was living in that garage or what. But that's, and I asked Horace, I said, what happened to that garage? He said, well, guy, we got into it. He said, he tried to set it on fire, burn it down. So, there you go, in a residential area. Now, the art down there, they've got a building, and it's out by itself. It's got ample parking and whatever on there. So, we don't need that in a residential area.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
At this point, I would like to have Sarah come up and present what investigation the city has done into this. No, I want Sarah to do it in the public hearing. I think it'll be, the record will be cleaner if Sarah can come up and say what she has found through her investigation. So I would like her to be the last person.
As I said earlier, you received quite a bit of information in the packets on this. I'm gonna try to make this short because we've been in here way too long. Back in 2020, when I took this position, this extension of this home was being built already. It was approved by previous administration. Normally, you cannot have 2 homes on the same parcel. The person previous to me said that they could, as long as it was connected by a breezeway or hallway or something along that line. I did speak to Reece after I came into this position, and I was told by Reece that him and his foster son were gonna live in the original home, and then Horace's son Michael and Michael's son were gonna live in the newly built attached home. That is all I was told. I started receiving complaints from neighbors in regards to noise, traffic, police being called there, loud music, lights shining in homes. And as we shared, a lady that lived in the home across the other side of the alley lived there 20 years and had enough. It is my job to investigate whenever we receive complaints, whether it's a zoning issue, code violation, whatever it may be. Tall grass, trash, you all know that. I then called Michael Reece to come in, to see if he'd come in and speak with me. And as you have in your packets, that conversation is typed out and what took place. At that time, I explained to him, basically this is being run as a hotel type thing. You can't run a business out of your home. This is not a multi-family zoned area or property. He is charging rent. I explained all that to him I told him he could seek a variance type thing. He explained, at that time, I asked him how many people were living there. He said, well, in the original home, 7, and he never got to tell me how many lived in the other. So I was unsure of the exact total, but about 7 in the smaller. So, I told him that I would give him time. So I met with him on March 13th to meet with the residents there, gave them information on housing authority and other avenues to seek for them to get housing. Next thing I know, I received a phone call from Mr. Teddy that he's representing Michael. I wasn't sure what for, but it doesn't matter. And I received the application. And not one time when I met with him in March did he mention anything about a recovery home. Not one word of it. But on the application, as you have in front of you as well, it says a recovery living home. But then Mr. Reece got up here earlier and said it's not a recovery home. So I'm a little confused. I don't think he even knows what it is.